Alright, so this is going to be a quick tutorial on how to create a simple car and import it into the Unity game engine and basically have a physics-driven car that you can drive around and use in a racing game, drag racing, stunt game, whatever you want. But basically a fully operational vehicle inside of Unity. So we're in Maya for this, so we want to check a few things before we get started. We're going to go Window, Settings, Preferences, and Preferences. We're going to go to Settings and make sure that we're set to meters. It was set to centimeters by default. We're going to hit Save, and we're good to go with that. We're going to go back, and we're going to go Windows, Setting Preferences, Plugin Manager, and just make sure fbxmaya.mll is loaded and checked on. And you can close that. That's what we're going to export our model out with. The last thing we're going to need to check is the grid. And this is for the purpose of scale. We want to make sure that we have real-world meter, one-to-one meters scale between Maya and between Unity. The physics engine inside of Unity gets kind of crazy when the meters are not to real-world scale in Unity. So I set it to like 5-unit grid. It's 5 units this way, 5 units out from origin every way. A grid line every unit, so every line, every square here is 1 meter, and subdivision's 1. And basically every one of these little squares is a 1 meter area. So we're going to create our vehicle now. We're going to go Create, Polygon Primitives, and Cube. I'm in wireframe mode, so I'm going to hit the 5 key on the keyboard to get it in shaded. I'm going to hit the R key for scale, and I'm just going to scale here in Z, and I'm going to see it moving over here and here, so I'm just going to type 4. The average car is about 4 meters long, and we have a precisely 4 meter long car here. It's about 1.5 meters wide, so we're going to go 1.5. And there's the chassis for our car. So we're just going to go over here and double click on this and call it chassis. Make sure it's named properly. We're going to go Create, Polygon Primitives, and create a cylinder. We're going to rotate it around the Z here, and we're going to go over here actually and type in precise numbers again. And then we're going to just move it out of the way and try to visualize, just doesn't have to be perfect, just your idea of a wheel, I guess. So there we go. We're going to hit Control D, and it made a duplicate. Put that in the front. Guess I don't need to be a perfectionist. I'm going to hold down Shift and select the other one, and then hit Control D again and duplicate the wheels for our other side. And there, we have 4 wheels. So we named our chassis properly. We need to name the wheels. So this is the front left wheel. This is the rear left wheel. Yeah. This is the, okay, this is the front right. Oop, typo. Front right wheel. And this is the RR wheel, right rear wheel. Now would be a good time to go File, Save As. And I created a folder on my desktop called Car Tutorial. It's wherever you're working. And I'm going to put it outside of the Assets folder because this is going to be kind of like source artwork and it's not exported. So I'm just going to call it Car and hit Save. It's not my exported file. It's like a working source file. So I'm just going to keep it outside of Unity's Assets folder. So I'm going to select everything by just dragging, marquee dragging over it. I'm going to go Edit, Delete by Type History, Modify Freeze Transformations, and Modify Center Pivot. And that just made sure all the weird transformation data and stuff is off the model. So now that I have the model created and everything, we want to export it to Unity. So I'm going to Shift select, or just marquee drag select everything. And I'm actually going to go and kind of pull it up so it's sitting. You know, the grid would represent the ground in Unity, so I'm going to try to move it up. It doesn't have to be perfect, just so it's, you know, above the ground, not, you know, below it. And we're good to go. So I'm going to go File, Export Selection, and I'm going to select FBX. I'm going to hit Export Selection. And then basically I'm going to navigate to my Unity project folder because you're going to want to create an empty project for this. Okay? And then I'm going to go into Assets, Standard Assets, and I'm going to right-click in the window and go New Folder, and I'm going to call it Models, because this is where I want to keep my models. I'm going to call this one Car, and then I'm going to go down here and make sure it's set to FBX. And then I'm going to hit Save, and some settings are going to come up. Lots of settings, nothing to be afraid of. Basically, just include the geometry, the mesh, by default the settings. Don't have to mesh with any of these other ones except for units. It should be set to meters with a scale factor of 1. 1 unit to 1 meter in Unity, 1 unit to 1 meter in Maya. Hit Export, and it should have exported out my stuff. I'm going to go look for the export real quick on my desktop. Car tutorial, assets, standard assets, models were created. There it is, car. That's the FBX file. So I've already fired up Unity in that Unity project I was in, and that I created on my desktop. And I'm going to look in here, and in my standard assets, I have a folder now called models that I created. And there's my car. So I'm going to click on it. Here's the FBX information. I need to set the scale factor to 1. This is a 1-to-1 ratio. I'm going to turn off this keyframe reduction. And then I'm going to hit Apply. Very important you hit that Apply to apply it. So there it is. I'm going to go and I'm going to left mouse drag it into the hierarchy window here. And we'll hit the F key to zoom in. And there's our little car. There's the chassis, there's the wheels, on and on and on and on. Now the FBX export created a group node for us we don't really want here, so we're going to grab everything underneath of car, the chassis and the wheels, that's all, and we're going to kind of just drag it to where it gets, hold on, cancel. I'm just trying to drag it out of the, out of the car thing. I'm going to delete the car. I'm going to grab all the wheels, holding down Control and Control selecting them like this. And I'm going to left mouse drag them into chassis. So now we have our group again, but the wheels are directly parented underneath of the car itself, the car body. Okay? All one piece. And it's sitting on top of the world there like we wanted. The grids match. It is 4 grid units in Unity long, so our scale was correct. We're going to go Game Object, Create Other, and we're going to create a plane. Okay? And then we're going to go in, and I don't know why Unity doesn't do this by default, but we're just going to delete all the values or make them 0. We're going to 0 it out. This is our ground. And we can actually, I'm going to double click it, click on it a few times, and I'm going to just call it ground. And I'm going to scale it up real big. All right. I'm going to go over here into standard assets. You may or may not have the mobile assets. You may have some textures or something in your standard assets. It would be in the textures folder. I'm just going to drag like the grid over on the ground, and on the texture I'm just going to type in like 500 on the tiling attribute here. When you left mouse drag it over to the ground, it'll show you the shader for it, and you can just type in any amount you want it to tile over there. So I got a little bit of a grid so I can see the vehicle moving. Okay. The next thing we want to do is the 2 scripts you're going to need inside of your standard assets folders, a scripts folder, player's car script and wheel alignment script. And I'm going to have a little pop-up tag here come up that's going to give you a link to my Dropbox where these 2 scripts are. So you can pull them down off of there and put them inside of your scripts folder here. Okay? And you'll have wheel alignment script and player car script. So, excuse me. The first thing we want to do is go over here, Game Object, Create Empty. And we want to call this guy Wheel Colliders, or any, you don't even have to name it the exact same thing I am. That's just so I know what it's going to hold. It's a container. So I'm going to 0 it out again, because it's like a container node. and I'm going to hit Control D on it, make a copy, and this is actually going to be a template for one of our wheel colliders. So we'll call this front left wheel collider, because this is going to match our actual art wheels, but this is going to be like the physics wheel, you know, not the art wheel. So I'm going to left mouse drag it into the wheel colliders, and basically it made wheel colliders the parent of it. Okay? With the wheel collider selected, I'm going to go Component, Physics, and add the wheel collider component. And there it is. It just added it. So with it selected again, I want to hit Control D, Control D, Control D, and I want to get, and I'm going to rename them to match the art wheels up here, because each needs one for each wheel of art. Needs a physics wheel for each art wheel. So we have front right, front left, front left. We got two front lefts. What are we missing? Okay, right, right. So now we have a container, and it's holding all four of our physics wheels, nice and neat, in a zeroed out container. We're going to drag that up into chassis so that like our art wheels, which are the geometry here, and then we have our physics wheels, which you can see in Unity what a wheel collider looks like. It doesn't render, but you see it in the editor. So now we want to get to matching these physics wheels up to the art wheels. They need to be like lined up and everything. So I'm going to go over here where it says textured and go to wireframe, and this little in your scene tab right here. That way I can see my wheel better. So basically I'm going to select the front left wheel collider and then I'm going to expand center, and this is how we move it. We actually don't move it in the editor like this, because you can, but that kind of could cause weird physics issues. So we're going to actually adjust it. See how that works? On the wheel collider. So since it's going to the front, we're going to move it up here to the front wheel. Just kind of eyeball it for now. Get it up there in Y. And radius is how big it is. So we want it to match the actual physical size of our wheel, which looks like it's going to be about, we'll just say 0.5. Okay, and we got it pretty close. It needs to come forward just a little more in Z. I can't get it that close, so usually it helps me to come over here and type it in. So actually 175 looks like that would be good. And I try to keep these numbers nice and whole too, to, you know, take it easy on the physics calculations. So here's our front right wheel collider, and you can see it's not quite set like we've just tweaked the front left one. So we know a few attributes now from the front left one, that we know the radius of all the wheels are 0.5. So we can go in this one and just type 0.5. We can go in this one, type 0.5, 0.5. Also, we know this is a front wheel, so in Z, we know it's 1.175. So since this is a front wheel too, we'll go 1.175 and get that up there. We also know they're all going to be the same height in Y, which is 0.52. They're all going to be up, you know, vertically the same distance. So we'll go 0.52 on that. We'll go 0.52 on that. This is the lengthiest part right here, is adjusting these wheel colliders, so don't sweat that. So we're going to move these back in Z to the rear. We got that one pretty close. So it looks like negative 1.25 works for the rear ones. What was it? 2.5? Yeah, okay. So, all right, all the front ones are in the front. Now we need to look down the vehicle to make sure, see, they're centered. All the wheel colliders are in the middle of the vehicle, and we need them to be over here in the wheels. So we're actually going to look down the front of the vehicle like this, where you'll see front in Unity. We're going to go for the front left, and the left would be this side right here over this way, because I remember where I was at. And this is in the X. So we just want to try to eyeball it. It doesn't need to be perfect. It looks like negative 0.98. So the other side, we'll try 0.98. And it's pretty close. 0.99 is better over there. Okay, so we know that the front right is 0.99 over an x, so the rear right will probably be 0.99 over an x. Yep. Front left was negative 0.98, so the rear left would probably be negative 0.98. And all our wheel colliders should be matching our, I'm going to go over here to scene, textured view again, and all of our wheel colliders should be matching our art geometry pretty good. So we have the proper setup now. Everything is underneath this main car body of the car, the art wheels, the wheel colliders. So now what we need to do is select the chassis, go component, physics, rigid body, and add that. A normal car, this thing's in like Newton kilotons or something, it's about 2,000. It's for the mass, okay? And for interpolate, we'll turn on interpolate. That just smoothly interpolates the movement of the rigid body against collisions with other things. Makes it a little smoother. After that, we'll go component, physics, and we'll add a box collider to the chassis. And basically, there it is right there, the component. I'm going to minimize this rigid body and the renderer. There's the box collider. It's actually, you can see the green outline. It matched to the size of the chassis perfectly. That's basically the object that's going to collide with walls and stuff if you have them and everything. It's never going to have a chance to touch the ground here because the wheel colliders are raycasting down at the ground and keeping the vehicle upright. So we have the rigid body on the chassis. We have the box collider. Now we need to take our player car script over here that you downloaded off my Dropbox spot, and we'll just left mouse drag it up over on the chassis. We'll minimize the box collider, minimize the rigid body, and we'll look over here. All right, the script is asking for the wheel collider for the front left wheel. So we're going to click this little circle, and there it is, front left wheel collider, and it wants the front right wheel collider. So we're going to go over there. Now we've assigned, basically via the script that's on the geometry, we've assigned that the front left wheel and the art left wheel, the art geometry is now hooked up to the wheel collider, so they'll turn together. For gear ratio, we want to set 6 gears. And I'm going to give some numbers. These are like a standard car's gear ratio, 4.31, 2.71, 1.88. This is the distance of the gears, I guess. I don't know. I got these numbers off a tutorial, and they've just always stuck with me. Those are all 6 of the gears for normal acceleration through gears for a normal car. You can pause it here and look back at them if you like. So now we have the gears set up, the wheels on it. We're actually going to turn the engine torque down to probably like 90. It's set to a ridiculously high number by default. Now the last step we have to do is we got to go to our art wheels here. You remember those, the art geometry, and we need to hook a script to those to tell the wheel colliders, hey, rotate and turn these. That's our wheel alignment script here, which I also will give you the download link to here on a little pop-up to grab those off my Dropbox. So we just want to left mouse drag those to each wheel. Needs one of these wheel alignment scripts on it. And now when we look at the wheel, it has a wheel alignment script. Each one has one. So we're going to start with the front left wheel. It says, what's the corresponding collider, the wheel collider? Front left wheel collider. We don't have to worry about the slip prefab. That's a thing that'll like, you can create a prefabricated object that'll spit out a particle of smoke or something if the tires slip. So skid marks or smoke. We'll do another tutorial on that. So we're going to go to the next wheel, front right, and it wants the front right wheel collider. RL wheel, we'll give it right left wheel, right rear wheel, and so that's it. All the wheels have a script. They're all hooked into the wheel colliders. The chassis has a rigid body, box collider, and this car script with the wheel colliders hooked into it and all the gears typed in. So now when we hit play, this car, now you have to click in this lower window for the play button to work. But, oh, we have an error down here. No audio source attached to the chassis. That's fine. Component, audio, audio source. There. It just added one. And the reason that happened is because in the player car script here, there's a audio thing in it to hook in for sound, where if the wheels slide, you can plug in a sound into that right here where it says audio clip, and the car will shift gears and play a gear shifting sound or wheel sliding sound. So I'm going to hit play again, and we should be good. And you see our car. Whoa, I'm going to unhit play and try to maximize. I'm going to go over here and just go wide. Oh, and I'm going to turn off. No, I'm going to go back to 2x3. I'm sorry. Because it was maximizing to play. And you'll see that our little car is driving around. I'm going to hit the back arrow and try to get it to back up. And then I'm going to zoom our camera in a little. And the car left the screen, but that's okay. And you can see the wheels are turning and it accelerates. Cool, huh? So there's your drivable vehicle, and I can show you other things like how to get it to steer faster. I'm just driving in circles now, but it's pretty awesome. Another thing I'll show you here real quick is we have our main camera by default that's on here. We should have a script in here by default in the standard assets called Smooth Follow, and I'm just going to drag that onto the main camera. Click on the main camera, and there's the script added. It wants the target, which will be probably the car, the chassis. And basically that'll let us use this game window down here. When we hit play now, the camera will follow the car. See? And sorry for all that. And you can adjust it like this in real time, the height of the camera. When you unhit play, the camera will reset. See, you can't make adjustments while the game is in play mode, but what I'll usually do is if I want to get it like just how I like it, I'll adjust it. I'll look at this number, stop play, and I'll be like, all right, I think about 6 was that distance I liked. Okay, and then I'm going to go like I want it closer behind the vehicle, about 2. So we'll go there. We'll hit play. And you can see our wheels turning, and you can see our wheels sliding a little. Now I'll show you, we can tweak those wheel colliders to give this car like a drifting ability, a little more slide. And we can also tweak the script for these wheels so that the wheels can turn less or sharper, and we can also make it 4-wheel drive. So for right now, you have a fully, hold on, you have a fully drivable vehicle for any kind of, purpose pretty much. Racing game, drag racing, stunt, and it's amazing. These wheel colliders right here, we didn't really look into this, the suspension spring, the mass, the friction, the sideways friction. We can make this thing a really bouncy buggy, or we could make it like a sports car that hugs the ground. It's amazing what you can adjust in this, and we'll do another tutorial right after this to show how some of those settings work. So I hope this helps you guys.